let's talk about Star Wars. Now, God, I'm not even sure I can remember the first time I first watched Star Wars. I must have been very young. And I've always very much enjoyed it, even though this is gonna hurt some people's feelings. This is gonna hurt some feels. I've always been more of a Star Trek guy. Okay, yep, I get it. I get it. However, I always liked sword and sorcery stuff. I always liked fantasy. And Star Wars kind of like the best of both worlds of something like Lord of the Rings and Star Trek. You know, you had these ships floating in space going faster than the speed of light uh, with energy blasters, with, you know, fucking swords made of fucking light, man. Laser fucking swords, or plasma swords, whatever the hell a lightsaber is made out of. So, and of course, there's space magic. So you got the aesthetics almost of a science fiction film, and most of the concepts from like something from like sword and sorcery, almost something like Conan or Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. So I have always enjoyed Star Wars, and even when I was a bit younger, because hell, the prequels did come out quite a while ago. I'm 30 now. The first one came out in 1999, the first prequel. So I was a bit younger, and as I got older, they definitely did not age well, the prequels. Except for maybe the third, which is probably the best out of them, for sure, but still a subpar movie, including if you're comparing it to A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Now, let's get to The Force Awakens. When I first watched it, I remember enjoying it. And I had some issues with it. And then I watched it again. And then I started to have more issues with it. And then I watched it a third time at home months later after it was out of the theaters. And yeah, I have a lot of issues with the movie. I think it's fun. I think it's fine. I think, of course, there's the first issue that everybody says it's A New Hope. It's A New Hope. And I get why they're doing that. They're trying to not reboot Star Wars per se, but introduce it to a new generation. And it's done that. It made a lot of money and it was quite popular. But I mean, for someone who's seen A New Hope already, it's a bit of a retread. Now, I mean, people seem to have some issues with Harrison Ford. I mean, the guy didn't even want to be in 2 of the 3 Star Wars movies he was in prior. Like, he was supposed to be dead in The Empire Strikes Back, I believe. He was supposed to be dead. He wasn't supposed to come back. He was supposed to be dead. And that's what Harrison Ford wanted, but it never happened because people liked Han Solo. And you can kind of tell that, I'm not going to say he doesn't want to be there for The Last Jedi, but I mean, is he really fully there, though? Is he? And of course, if you have an issue when it comes to J.J. Abrams and his style, his visual style, you're gonna have some issues. I mean, I don't mind lens flares. I know some people hate them with a passion, but I don't mind them. I didn't mind the Star Trek reboots, so I mean, if you weren't a fan of the Star Trek reboots, you're probably not going to be a fan of this either. Even if you can look past some of JJ's style. Now, in my opinion, although the 2 main characters are definitely the pillars of the movie, Finn and Rey are definitely the pillars of the film. The issue is Rey is written terribly, and the person who wrote Finn doesn't seem to understand how, like, post-traumatic stress disorder works, or how being a child soldier works. Okay, now listen. Finn, I'm pretty sure, was captured as a young boy, and then, brainwashed and trained to be a killer, witnessed a massacre, fucking lost his shit, and then deserted. So, I love the actor who plays him. I think it's Boyega is his last name. He's fun. He's catchy. I believe it. what was that film about aliens invading a part of poor part of London? Attack the Block. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Attack the Block. That was a great movie. And I think he's a perfectly fine actor, but I think they went in the wrong direction with Finn. I'm not sure why they made him so happy and upbeat. We're talking about a guy who's essentially a fucking brainwashed child soldier who went through a traumatic event that basically made him realize he had some fucking humanity, and he deserts. Like, you see the strangeness when you think about his character that way, how his character is in The Force Awakens. Then there's the elephant in the room, Rey. Okay, so if you want to talk about, what the hell is the name of the actress who plays her? Dizzy something? She's not a very good actress. I mean, she gets better in Last Jedi, but I mean, she's not... there's a couple of funny memes with her. Like, you can see the overacting in her face. It's like, oh man, it's great. And the double whammy of this is that whoever wrote Rey really had no clue how to write a character who isn't a Mary Sue or a Mary Stu. And a lot of people have gotten really pissy whenever you talk about Rey being a Mary Sue. There's no other way to describe her character. Does she ever make a mistake in that film? Once? No. Does she have any real conflict? No. The closest thing she has to conflict is, I don't know where my parents are, and that's it. And they kind of only sort of mess with that. They kind of just blunt force trauma her into the story of Star Wars. I feel that Finn makes way more sense to be in a Star Wars story. He was part of the enemy and he defected. So he at least, you can do interesting things with the story with this character because he has inside information, all that kind of stuff. He understands how the enemy works because he was the enemy. You could do things with that. Rey is a nobody. Now, that's going to become more important later. And I think they managed to actually make that work in The Last Jedi, her being a nobody. But in the previous film, you're just like, why is this nobody out Han Soloing Han Solo, and out sword fighting a fucking a Sith Knight in fucking laser sword combat? Listen, if you want to go down the route saying, okay, she's incredibly gifted to the Force, okay, sure. You know, we're not going to talk about how doing mind tricks takes years of training. Sure, like blunt force use, like just picking up stuff and moving them. That doesn't take that much training. It's, you know, for... If you read any of the books, or just even pay attention to the original films, even doing that still takes skill, but it's definitely not the same thing as going into someone's mind and taking pieces of information from them, or making them do things that you want, no matter if they're weak-willed or not. That's going to take effort. That's going to take time and training. If they just went with the whole thing, oh my god, she can just move things with her mind really powerfully, and like, you know, made it look like it was unraw, like this untamed raw power, that would have been better. But they didn't go that route. And like I said, she beat a fucking Sith Knight, because he's not a full Sith. I wouldn't say Kylo's a full Sith, in sword combat, where she's never held a lightsaber in her life. Okay. I think also another issue is that with any story you need a bad guy, and they had two. They had Supreme Leader Snoke, which was a giant hologram. Okay, so that's cool. And then they had Kylo Ren. I liked Kylo Ren. I still like Kylo Ren. I think they could have done a lot more with him. I think they could have done a lot more interesting things with him, like how they so early unmasked him in The Force Awakens. I thought that was such a loss of a really good, like, something more interesting they could have done with the character. Like, he should have taken off his mask for the first time when he killed his father, Solo. That would have been way more impactful. And plus, the whole thing about him was, like, about letting go of the past and not letting connections with people control you, so that's why he kills his dad. So him doing it face-to-face and wearing the mask would show more devotion to going to the dark side and all that fucking bullshit. So that would have been way more impactful for not just the story, but for the viewers. But they didn't go down that route. Hell, if they really wanted to fucking do it, he should not have had his mask done until fucking Rey cut his face open. Which, like I said, would have been more impactful. What made Darth Vader so scary was his presence. The actor who played him was like 6.5, 7 feet tall. He's this really fucking big guy, and you put him in this black armor with this scary, shiny, glossy eye mask. Like, it's scary. Including if you look at, I think it's Empire Strikes Back. They added that red tinge to Darth Vader's eyes. Fucking, it's creepy shit. He looks fucking scary. He looks like one of those samurai masks that they would wear as like a psychological warfare in battle. It makes him look fucking scary. Kylo looked great in his suit and his mask and shit, but like I said, him taking off his mask takes away a lot of the point of what they're trying to do with this character. I mean, he's literally a fanboy of Darth Vader, so him taking off the mask, I don't know. So, my main issue is basically that some of the writing in it was just kind of bad. And you can see that with Rey, specifically with Rey the most, that the writing was just, the character writing was not good. Now we get, finally, to The Last Jedi. Now, unlike Han Solo, who you can tell that a certain actor didn't really want to be there and he was just kind of there, Mark Hamill as Luke, no, you can tell he's 100% committed. He was 100% committed with this, and he went with it. And you can see that he is part of the story. He's invested in it. It was a pretty movie. A lot of great contrasting colors when it came to a lot of the battle scenes and like stuff. The movie looked great. Again, they kind of took 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. It seems that they might have actually listened about Rey, because Rey manages to make one whole mistake in this movie. And it's a pretty big one, but I mean, it still kind of goes in her favor anyway, but she actually makes a mistake. She falls for a trap. However, I thought the whole reason why she went to the island was to be trained by Luke. I was hoping for some Yoda kind of, some role reversal, that Luke would end up becoming Yoda, and Rey would kind of become like Luke. That kind of happened, but in the worst possible way. If you watch the prequels, you know that Yoda ran. He essentially realized he failed. He failed the Jedi Order. He failed all the children that were murdered. He failed them all. And he left in shame when he couldn't defeat Sidious. Something very similar happens with Luke. He ends up failing Ben, Kylo Ren. And so he runs and hides on an island because basically the Jedi Order again was destroyed. And he blames himself, so he ran and hid on an island to die. That's what Yoda did. That was the exact same thing Yoda did. And I can see the parallels. However, be honest with yourself. If Yoda was young enough, do you really think he would have let Luke go alone when he fought Vader? No. He would have went with him. But he was old and he was dying, and he fucking dies. He dies because he was old and he was all used up. Yoda never really gets to completely redeem himself for his mistakes. He does so by passing on his knowledge to Luke. Now, Luke, on the other hand, dies on that fucking island where he could have left. Oh, sure, he shows up for that battle and shit in some weird Force ghost form. What I was almost hoping for is that there's a panning shot where Rey looks down past the island and sees Luke's old X-Wing. It's under the water. And yes, there are scenes in the film with the Force ghost of Yoda, which looked fantastic, by the way. They must have recreated that original puppet from the original films. Looks very good. Very good. I was hoping for a scene where Luke realizes that him staying here is basically he's repeating the same mistakes of people in the past. And like I said, they make a connection with him being like Yoda, and they also make a connection with him being like Obi-Wan Kenobi. The thing is, unlike Yoda, Obi-Wan, who was young enough to still, do stuff and not be an old hag living on a fucking on a swamp planet, he actually got the fuck up off his ass and went on an adventure and helped the people who needed help. Luke, however, didn't. And I was hoping for a scene where he would literally be looking down at his X-Wing, thinking about leaving. He just decided to start using his Force powers again, which you saw earlier on, so he could easily pick up his X-Wing out of the water and leave. Man, it would be great if Yoda would be behind him. It's like, do I have to do it again? Because that's what Yoda had to do. Is that Luke wasn't strong enough to pick up his X-Wing out of the water in the swamp on Dagobah. So that would have been a really interesting scene. And actually have Luke there. They basically turned Luke into this old coward. And it kind of ruins his character. And it actually made me kind of mad. My mother disagrees with me a bit about this, but one of the reasons why it makes me mad is that he doesn't really teach Rey anything. Which, I mean, you can kind of say is a cool thing that Rey kind of learns herself. Like the whole thing with the that huge mirror under the island, which is like Luke describes it as some kind of a dark place of the Force. And when they're doing their little tests, and he blatantly points out, like, wow, you went to the dark side and you didn't even fucking hesitate or even try to stop yourself. Holy shit. Like, oh no, we're not, that seems like a huge problem. We're not going to talk about how Rey just kind of did that. And she goes there, and she's like, show me my parents, and the mirror shows her. The whole point about this film, and it's a theme that seems to be all through it, is the past doesn't matter, and it matters what you do. Don't let other people control you. Don't let your past failings control you. You have to be your own person. And of course, you look how Kylo Ren deals with it by literally killing his past away, by literally trying to kill his parents and killing off those emotional connections. And Luke ends up just repeating them. He ends up just repeating the exact same thing that his master Yoda did, and just ended up being him in the end without redeeming himself. And that's so fucking heartbreaking. And so they can do so much more with that. And that really bugged me. That whole storyline really bugged me. It's not just the fact that he doesn't teach Rey anything, and Rey doesn't learn anything from him. She learns it all herself. Like I said, Rey still seems to be a bit of a Mary Sue, but at least she makes one monumental mistake, which is basically falling for a huge trap, although she never really gets any real consequence out of it besides a broken lightsaber. Okay. Okay. when Luke made a mistake, he lost a hand. And a friend. How many years was Solo in that fucking carbonite? I'm just saying. There was consequences for Luke's mistakes. There's been no consequences for anything Rey has done. At all. Even this whole thing that people have been talking about since the first movie, like, oh my god, who is her parents? Maybe she's related to Luke Skywalker, maybe she's related to Ben. No, she comes from nobody. That is probably the only good thing that came out of her character, that it fits with the rest of the theme of the film. That the past doesn't matter. Your parents, they're not you. Your past mistakes aren't you. It's what you do now, and it's how you improve yourself is what matters. So her coming from a bunch of fucking junkie junkards who sold her off into slavery for some fucking booze money. Shit, son, that's hard. That's fucking harsh. That is literally the only character development she has in the entire movie, is having that realization that she already knew. That's why the mirror doesn't show her anything, because she already knows who her parents were. She just doesn't want to admit it. She doesn't want to admit it to herself. Oh my god! Rey? Character development? No fucking way! There's not really much to say about Finn. I mean, Finn was in it. He did Finn stuff. He was, trying to be heroic, and some Asian chick falls for him. I feel a lot of his scenes kind of dragged on. The casino stuff and the stuff with the Asian chick, and I don't care. Now, what's really interesting is about Leia. Now, as you all may already know, Carrie Fisher died, I believe, early this year. So, I was already thinking that Leia was going to die in the film anyway, but she doesn't. And the scene where she should have died, she gets sucked out into space. She's just like, I got force powers, bitch. I'm just going to fly back into the ship. Okay. It's really weird now because how are they going to deal with Carrie Fisher being dead for the last film? We should have just killed her off. They had a perfectly reasonable reason to kill her off, and it would have given an even better reason for Luke to fucking leave his stupid goddamn island instead of being a goddamn coward. I think I might be done with Star Wars. People have a lot of issues with the newer Star Trek films. I think I liked the first one the most. Second one was okay. I think people got really pissy about it because it was trying too much to be an actiony reboot of Wrath of Khan. I'm just like, I don't have a problem with that. And the third one, Beyond, was just kind of meh. There wasn't really much to it. I'm still can accept the fact that there can be some new Star Wars and I actually might be able to enjoy it. Same thing with new Star Trek. However, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I might be done with Star Wars, and it's kind of sad. And since Disney seems to have the inclination to make as many Star Wars films as fucking possible, I guess we'll see.